An I-Team investigation is uncovering the successes and failures of a program targeted at identifying the chronically homeless and getting them off the streets for good.
News Channel 3's Jeff Stahl brings you inside this newest effort in his report, Uplift Our Homeless.
Thank God I'm still alive.
Leonard McGinsey is grateful to have a roof over his head and no longer be homeless.
I love every minute of it because it's warm at night. I don't have to worry about who's to come running through that park, shooting or chasing somebody, or who getting beat up. I don't have to worry about none of that. When I lock that door, I know it's not going to open until I do.
Homelessness and addiction are things that McGinsey knows all too well. For 12 years, he's sought help at Indio's ABC Recovery Center, Martha's Village and Kitchen, and the Coachella Valley Rescue Mission. But most recently, living in his car here behind Indio's Dr. Carry-On Park.
Used to say what's to take place in a public park.
He prays those days are finally behind him.
And when they said they was going to help me, put me in a place to stay, this is what they did.
As he shows off his temporary apartment in downtown Cathedral City, McGinsey takes pride in finally accepting help from the Coachella Valley Association of Governments CV 200 program. It's a list of our area's chronically homeless who don't want to be in a shelter and have frequent contacts with police.
Something like homelessness, you see that same person on the corner every day for the last 3 or 4 years, and you just think, is there any way we could help that person? And we are.
CVAG Executive Director Tom Kirk says local cities are kicking in $100,000 each this fiscal year ending in June, along with tribes, $300,000 from the county, $500 from the Desert Healthcare Foundation, plus grant dollars to address homelessness through the CV Housing First budget. It adds up to $1.4 million.
And we're reaching out to them. We're putting them into permanent housing, helping them get their records straight, but sometimes even helping them get a job, helping them sign up for government benefits.
Last year, the CV 200 placed 144 homeless people into temporary homes. 32 returned to the streets, program failures, but 75 moved into permanent housing, a more than 2-to-1 success ratio.
They have the rules.
McGinsey's case managers have helped him obtain an ID and Social Security cards, medical insurance, and connected him with Social Security supplemental income.
I'm not all the way totally disabled, but I like to just go to work and just earn a living, an honest living.
We've just obtained the latest numbers for the first quarter of this year from CVAG. They show 33 more homeless people moved off the streets into temporary rooms. 5 returned to the streets, but 15, nearly half, like McGinsey, have now moved into permanent housing, most with subsidized rents. The average length of stay for successful cases this quarter was 69 days. Longer stays tended to lead to failure. How much does this all cost? CVAG says the price tag hasn't yet been established, but the costs for housing people like McGinsey here are higher than those in shelters.
It isn't cheap, but neither is having chronically homeless people on the street. Certainly code enforcement issues, certainly there's petty crime. They also a lot of these clients end up in emergency rooms for relatively minor things.
Kirk says he doesn't expect to solve the entire homelessness issue, but says that this program is helping, not with handouts, but a hand up to permanent housing. CVAG says those who fail aren't out forever. They remain on the CV 200 list in case there's an opportunity or an interest in them working with the program again, while looking for other shelter solutions or partners to help out as well. For McGinsey, he's just celebrating his new shot at life.
And as long as I can help it, I won't be homeless never again. Never.
Let's go, let's go.
Those screams you just heard are not from real victims of a shooting. It's chilling audio used by the Palm Springs Police Department to simulate an active shooter situation.
The department is ramping up that type of training for its officers as the nation sees a rise in mass shootings, including on school campuses. News Channel 3's Jennifer Franco geared up and went alongside officers as they tested their preparedness. And Jennifer, was this drill in the works for a while?
Hi, John and Karen. Yeah, so last month, actually, we reported on a powerful statement by the Palm Springs Police Chief where he called the law enforcement response in Uvalde a failure. That tragedy inspired PSPD to evaluate its own capability of responding to an active shooter situation. I was invited to go through an assessment to see exactly what it's like. It was truly an eye-opening experience. Take a look.
Look straight ahead. Okay. Can you get that side, please? Yeah.
The simulation starts with a call.
Multiple calls, shots fired at Penn Elementary School.
Okay, partner. Then an adrenaline rush. Wearing protective equipment, my partner and I run towards the threat. Reaching the front of the building, we run into volunteers acting as victims, exiting in a panic. I feel a sense of guilt, not stopping for someone who is wounded on the ground asking for help. But our mission is to find and eliminate the threat. I'm on edge as I go in first down a hallway with my partner behind. My heart is racing, knowing I could get shot at any moment. Then suddenly bullets, the non-lethal kind, start flying at me fast. Slowing down the video, you can see the shooter pop out in front of me, firing rounds my way. I fire back, anxiously trying to hit him with every pull of the trigger before he could hit me. I take him down and I feel some relief, but I keep going, unclear on whether other threats are in the building. This is the officer posing as that first shooter.
Trying to get you guys to scatter and go into different rooms, which you guys didn't do, which was really good.
In this scenario, the building is dark. My partner and I scan the area using lights on our weapons. This building is used to simulate what it would be like for both officers and volunteer victims in the event of an active shooter situation. There are obstacles and distractions, creating a chaotic setting, putting officers to the test. PSPD officers train with semi-automatic rifles, similar to the weapons used by the gunman in at least 16 high-profile mass shootings nationwide since 2012. This year, 356 people have been killed by mass shooters, including 190 children under the age of 12.
You lose the fact that you just fired 30 rounds.
Lieutenant Gustavo Oreza is in charge of the department's training division.
How long ago did you start doing these assessments?
This particular assessment is probably the first one we've done in about 7 years.
California does not require police officers to take active shooter training, but PSPD restarted these drills in response to the Uvalde school massacre.
What we don't want to see is an officer go in and just freeze because their senses are overloaded. So that's why if you went through this scenario, you had people screaming, people running towards you.
Since late June, Lieutenant Oreza says a majority of the force's 102 officers have gone through the assessment.
We wanted to give them a scenario and have them run into this cold. What we found out were some of our officers didn't have any training at all.
Volunteers from the department's Explorer program help put on these scenarios.
How do you feel about the fact that the Palm Springs Police Department is actually making a coordinated effort to ramp up these sorts of trainings at a time when, unfortunately, it seems like mass shootings are more common?
Hopefully other departments see it. I know other departments around the nation are doing the same training, and at the end of the day, it's to make sure people go home to their families.
Now, the chief of police and instructor are working to give the department feedback on their strengths and weaknesses.
We still can't forget our tactics. Running the walls, making sure not in the middle of the open, moving with speed and aggression.
This was the least pleasant illness I have ever had in my life.
Evan Goldfarb says he is finally feeling better after becoming Riverside County's first confirmed monkeypox patient. The 56-year-old traveled to Spain in early June. Towards the end of the trip, he began to realize something was wrong.
I began to have these sweats that would break out at any time, and it would be just a full body sweat. I also had a really sore throat that developed while I was gone.
Soon after returning home to Palm Springs, Goldfarb says his symptoms became worse.
I had lesions, which was a nightmare. I began to have severe swelling in my lymph nodes. So I knew something was wrong, I just didn't know what.
He says he immediately went to his doctor at Eisenhower Health, who told him the lesions looked atypical. The doctor then tested him for a number of possible diseases, but everything came back negative. At the time, monkeypox was not even a consideration.
It's so rare that it's hard to imagine that you potentially could be one out of, only 500 cases in the United States thus far. What I didn't know at the time was that while I was in Madrid, there had been a breakout with about 185 cases that week that I was there.
Once monkeypox began to appear in the headlines with images of lesions similar to his, Goldfarb says both he and his doctor took notice. So they contacted Riverside County's public health department for testing.
The county did not respond for a full 24 hours. They didn't even acknowledge a phone call or an email in regards to my case.
Meanwhile, Goldfarb says he continued getting sicker.
I not only had the lesions, I had night sweats that were so significant it caused me to have to go sleep in another bedroom because the sheets were just absolutely soaked, along with fever, along with headache, along with body ache. And I was that close, phone in hand, to calling 911 because I just didn't think I could, make it with how I felt.
And when the county did finally get back to him,
they denied the test.
So they denied your doctor's approval to get tested for monkeypox.
My understanding is they had confused me with another patient, which my doctor's office worked speedily to correct, and they finally gave approval to have that test done.
But Goldfarb says his troubles did not end there. A few days after that test was submitted to the county,
the message was, hey, we have to do it again with another county. So it seemed to me that somehow Riverside could not process this test properly.
So another test was conducted through San Bernardino County, and the results quickly came back. He was presumed positive for monkeypox. That meant he had to do another set of tests to finalize the results with the CDC. Weeks later, and still feeling sick, Goldfarb waited for an answer. But then he finally got it in a very unexpected way.
And I was watching KESQ Evening News one night, and the lead story was
Riverside County and the Centers for Disease Control are confirming the first monkeypox case here in the Coachella Valley.
And I was like, wait, what? Is that me?
He says days later, the county confirmed it was in fact him.
It wasn't anything new or surprising, but I certainly wanted to know the outcome.
Goldfarb says he then reached out to the county to try to get vaccinated for monkeypox, hoping it would help with his symptoms. He spoke briefly on the phone with the county's Director of Disease Control, Barbara Cole.
I said, hi, this is who I am, and this is why I'm calling. And she said, oh, I can't talk to you right now. I will call you back. Click. And she never did.
How frustrating has all this been for you?
I think it is a combination of either incompetence or negligence or both.
We reached out to the county with a detailed list of Goldfarb's claims. A spokesman sent us a statement which reads in part, because of privacy concerns, Riverside County Public Health is prohibited from speaking about individual cases or patients. There is always room for improvement, of course, and we take those lessons learned and will use them to provide the community the best service possible. Now healthy at home with his dog Pebbles, Goldfarb is grateful for the medical care he received from Eisenhower Health. But he's concerned monkeypox could hit the valley hard, and he questions if the county is ready.
The Riverside County population is very diverse, and clearly part of that diversity is a really large population of LGBTQ residents in the Coachella Valley. And so you've got an area where the potential impact is high, and their response has been dismal.
Yeah, Karen, good evening to you. And at this hour tonight, the wind here really starting to pick up. You see this smoke here behind us. It is billowing much more than it was. That's more than we've seen all day. And tonight, neighbors of those two people who were killed are mourning their loss of two people they say did not make it out of the flame.
Hi, I'm Sandy Newton. Join me this September as we showcase the very...
We couldn't save anything. We couldn't get anything.
Hemet resident Jeremy Fields is one of thousands put under evacuation orders Monday as the Fairview fire exploded. This was his view as flames crept over the ridge toward his ranch. He had just seconds to leave his home. His car now covered in pink fire retardant.
When I ran out, the fire retardant was just coming down on us, like the whole neighborhood is pink. Every car is pink. The houses are all completely pink. And this is what we're left with.
Inside the evacuation zone Tuesday, a hellscape. Neighbors tell us that those 2 people who were killed by this fire lived here in this home, burned straight down to the ground. Hot spots still flaring up here on the property, and all around we're seeing hose lines like this one, many of them burned straight down to blackened rubber. We're told that the people who lived here stayed on the property defending it until the very end.
It's just tragic. It's just tragic, you know, just knowing that my neighbors, they try to save, but, you know, it is what it is.
Up the mountain, we find Jeremy's home still standing. What remains a question for him now as he seeks shelter at the Red Cross Evacuation Center at a nearby high school is his livestock, which is also his livelihood.
We're ranchers, we're farmers, this is what we do. We raise chickens, goats, and horses, and cows, and just anything. That's what we do. We live off the land up there. I just hope that everyone got out, you know, I just hope everyone's okay. And back out here live tonight in Hemet, you can see that thick black smoke billowing there out of the mountains. These rapid fire conditions quickly changing here. Just a lesson how quickly the wind here can really change those conditions. That is, of course, not to mention this triple-digit heat that firefighters are battling against as well. We're live tonight in Hemet. Jake and Gracia, News Channel 3. Yeah, Karen, well, tonight parts of this community and others here in our local mountains are under those evacuation warnings, which means that they have been given the go-ahead by officials to grab what they need to have it ready in case they need to get out in just a moment's notice.
Pretty scary for sure, though. I mean, things can just change super quick and burn down.
Carlos Mercada has been watching the Fairview fire growing in size as fire crews put his area under evacuation warnings Monday. He's now starting to gather important items in case he needs to get out fast.
Just memories for sure, like some records, some pictures, you know, my video games, and that's it. The things I care about. I mean, once it gets close to, then yeah, I'll for sure head out.
We found Mountain Center Cafe server Diane O'Neill growing more concerned as well. Are you ready to evacuate?
No, not really. I'm at work.
She says with the news of 2 dead in the Fairview fire burned in their car after trying to save their home, she worries about the tight mountain roads.
They lived in a one-way in, one-way out, and I also live in a one-way in, one-way out. So it concerns me. It's very sad.
Now, these mountain communities have been through this before. We're here on Highway 243 headed up to Idlewild right now. You can see the Fairview fire there in the distance burning, and you can tell just how far it would need to come to put these communities under threat. But the area is under evacuation warnings right now. Mountain Center only about a mile away from here. And if you look down here, this area is all already burned. This is part of the 2018 Cranston fire burn scar. And people who live in these communities tell me that every time one of these fires sparks up, they get PTSD.
We don't want to see any of this burn anymore. We've lost so much already.
Shane Reichart with Riverside County Emergency Management says once those warnings come, people need to be ready to leave.
Have a plan for evacuations, know what you're going to take, have that go bag ready to go. So when evacuations are ordered, you can just grab those essential items, get out the door.
The reality of a fast-moving fire that our mountain communities are hoping doesn't come their way.
We'll see, I guess. I mean, I'll wait it out a little bit more.
And we are also hearing tonight about a community meeting being held in Mountain Center. That's going to be at 6 p.m., just about an hour from now, at the Garner Valley Fire Station number 53. That is along Highway 74 here in Mountain Center, giving community members an update on these rapidly changing fire conditions. And we will, of course, have continuing coverage on that community meeting right here as well. We're live tonight in Mountain Center. Jake and Gracia, News Channel 3.
Yeah, thank you, Jake. A lot of people
Yeah, and Karen, we've seen that intense increase in acreage, the fire doubling in size overnight from yesterday into today, and crews tonight tell us that at this hour that fire continues to spread in all directions.
We had a shift in the wind patterns from the last couple days, so we did have a growth last night. Pretty much the fire did take off in almost every direction.
Fire crews against fresh, dry brush on the front lines of the Fairview fire. The flames jumping feet in the air as smoke blankets the entire region.
When that wind shifts and it aligns with the fuel and the topography, that's just what makes fire spread.
Heavy machinery clears away those flashy fuels as hand crews march in to cut fire lines, even igniting a backfire, a tactic firefighters use intentionally, setting flames along the fire's inner edge to control the direction it's traveling. We are right here along the fire lines, and you can just see this fresh ignition that has just now sparked up. This here is where hand crews were able to cut the line. You can see where the dozer here came through, clearing out all of this dried brush and preventing the fire from progressing on into this neighborhood. A mile away, we find crews protecting structures, ash and charred brush surrounding, but homes have been spared. Active flames continue to burn here on this property in this Sage neighborhood, and you can see just how close those flames must have come to just about every single home here in this neighborhood. The charred landscape there going right up until the property line. But take a look at this. This is what fire crews say allowed them to save this home here. You can see all of this defensible space between the brush and the house. They say that is imperative to making their firefighting efforts a success.
Firefighters are out there trying to, get that direct line on there and put as much effort as they possibly can.
And tonight, the heat continues to be a major struggle these firefighters are facing. Right now on the ground here in Hemet, we are seeing temperatures in the mid to upper 90s, but just imagine wearing all of that gear. These firefighters facing those flames, carrying 50+ pounds of equipment, hiking steep and strenuous terrain. We hiked a bit tonight to bring you this story today, and I can tell you it was not easy, especially in those smoky conditions that fire crews are facing. Our hats tonight do go off to these 1,100 fire crews who are battling the Fairview fire this evening. We're live tonight in Hemet. Jake and Gracia, News Channel 3.
Yeah, thank you, Jake, for that. Fire Department
League champions. So this is how excited I am for this one. Hey, and let's hold this real quick. Give me that back. That's the gritty. We're fired up. We're going to have all the coverage for you, but let's go to Bailey now in the East Valley. He's got more on the Bell game, 63rd annual rivalry, and this one is for the DVL title, right, Bailey?
All right. I have to say, Blake, I am very impressed with your moves.
How was the gritty? Was it any good?
What did he do?
Well, he danced.
I hit the gritty. You hit it again?
Oh, okay. Oh,
Hey, that's a sports director right there.
That is definitely a sports director. You guys are having too much fun out there. What a Friday night. Okay. Bailey and Blake, good job. Thanks, guys.